if there is no alignment, there's no unity.
We must align on core values, meaning what I believe is what you believe on specific things.
Your preferences you can shift ground on, but your values are the things that would shape you. And if there's no agreement in terms of your value, it already sets the wrong footing for sort of disunity in the future.
It's not the communication that brings you back to alignment, it's the agreement. It's the fact that after we have spoken, there's an agreement.
Agreement is key. But then the person needs to be able to come and tell you that these are my dreams, these are my ideas, these are the things that I'm hoping to pursue, without feeling like they will be criticized.
Even couples that are thriving in their marriage, and I feel like to even thrive, it means that you've considered alignment as a living contract, meaning we're renewing it, not like a signed document, like it's done and dusted. It's a dynamic thing. It changes along the lines of several things.
Hi there, welcome back to the Because Marriages Work podcast, and a big happy new year to you.
Happy New Year, welcome back.
And it's such a joy to have you join us today. And if you're new here and you're wondering what this podcast is about, we discuss the beauty, the work, and the witness of godly marriages. My name is Doisola Olanio, and I co-host this podcast with my husband.
Ifeoluwa Olanio.
And what will we be talking about today? Drumroll.
Well, you're probably more excited than I am.
I'm generally more excited in life than you are.
Wow. How dare you? Okay, maybe that should get on my 2026 plan to stay excited.
Love it. I'm here for it.
Oh my, that was below the belt.
Sorry.
Anyway, what are we talking about today? We're speaking about alignment and shared values. Alignment and shared values. And I feel like it's a beautiful way to start the year.
Absolutely.
Right? Because, of course, we already understand that if things are not aligned, then they're probably going in different, or definitely going in different directions. So if people are going in different directions, supposed to be in a union, I don't know what union that is.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe there's no union without similar direction.
Absolutely. There's no union. What's that?
Did I do it right?
Clock it.
Did I even clock with the right fingers?
Yeah. I didn't see that coming at all. Wow.
I didn't see coming.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think I certainly agree with you that if there is no alignment, there's no unity. And the lack of alignment speaks to to disunity and to the lack of unity in a relationship or in a union. And maybe really there's no union once there's
no alignment.
Yeah.
Right. So I was going to before we had jumped in like that, I was going to ask you to just set the ball rolling with what your thoughts or what your understanding of alignment in marriages or relationships in general, especially because we know that we have even single people yet to be married,
who watch
or people that are dating, or in courtship looking to be married, also watching and listening to us.
I think for me, alignment means shared direction. Alignment for me is that two people intentionally orient their life towards the same vision, towards the same values, towards the same posture toward God, right? Or life actually in general, even if they might not be in the same emotional or developmental state at that point in time. And it's important for me that I say that because we know that growth can be uneven. And by uneven, I mean that we are not always equally resourced in terms of our growth, in terms of what stage of life we are at with our spouses at every point in time. So just recognizing that it's more about shared direction. It's more about having intentionally orienting your life towards the same values, towards the same vision, irregardless of the current season that you might find yourself in. That deliberate action, that intentional decision to orient your life towards the same thing. I think that's what alignment means to me.
Right. I mean, I hear the idea that it's not sameness. It's not the idea that we know the same things, have the same things, but we must want the same things. So it's not sameness in many regards, but it's more like directional coherence. The idea that we're going in the same direction, regardless of what we individually believe at a level or think at a level or feel at a level, we are going in the same direction.
Yeah, and the thing that you just said now about directional coherence, I think that's key. That's so important. But underneath that, you said something about the fact that we are going in the same direction. Many of the conflicts that people witness, or many of the conflict that people have, or many of the conflicts that we've sort of counseled people through, or spoken to people about, or even heard stories of, you realize that most of those things, they happen on the decisional level. So what do I mean by decisional level? So it's difference on like core decisions, like how you chose to spend money, how you spoke to the child, how you parented, or the time you spent out, on boundaries, or things like that. But what we keep on forgetting, or what we miss, and which is why I think this conversation about alignment is key and necessary, is that we miss the fact that underneath the decisions, there's a driver. There's something that is influencing our choices. There's something that is influencing our decisions. There's something that is influencing the direction in which we're choosing to travel. And I think that's what alignment answers. It's about the values. It's about the vision. It's about the things that would then influence your decision. Because really, our decisions don't happen in a vacuum. There are multiplicity of factors that play into the decisions that we decide to make, right? And I think, decisions that we decide to make? But I think it's key that we start to recognize that beneath the layer, beneath the surface, the key thing that needs to be addressed there is alignment.
And you're correct, because I think it's even better if the layers are spelled out. I mean, the way I like to look at it is you fundamentally should have agreed a couple of things. I mean, makes sense that we might not be the same. And I know that growing up, most of the time when people want to date or want to ask somebody out, what they're asking about is likes and dislikes. But that might not necessarily spell out alignment, right? Because you might just, based on the things you think the person is interested in and you're not interested in, you think you don't fit for either a friendship or union, right? But what this is showing is that it's not what you like and I don't like that binds us together or causes us to have shared direction. It's what we both are willing to agree on, right? And so there are pointers that make for the critical areas where we should be agreeing on. So for example, what matters most to us about life itself. You're thinking about the union and the life we're going to live together in the long run. Where are we headed together? Right? If you're looking at it in terms of what is important to you, in terms of values, right? And you're looking at it in terms of decision making. You're looking at it in terms of roles. You're looking at it in terms of priorities. You're looking at it in terms of, the way that we take action on different things. It's the how-tos. How would you handle conflict? How would you, we must agree on how we handle those matters.
Okay.
Right? And then there's the spiritual alignment. So all these things I have said are classed into different areas. So there's the teleological alignment, right? And it's just talking about when you're considering things from the end, right? So I'm going to school, but what's the end goal of going to school? That's like the teleological idea of going to school. What's the end goal of that? What's the reason? It's like my why. Literally, right? And then there's the axiological one, where you're talking about what matters most. That's the value-based one. You're talking about the ethical one, which is the one that now starts to talk about what is right and what is wrong, right? What are the things that we don't negotiate, right? That's core values now, right? We must align on core values, meaning what I believe is what you believe on specific things, right? For example, what do we define as boundaries in our relationship? I must believe the same thing you believe, because if I think boundaries mean do not stay on a call with the opposite sex at 10 p.m. and you don't believe the same thing, we're soon going to begin to have conflicts based on that misalignment. You see what I mean? And then there's the procedural one, which then involves things like roles and duties and responsibilities and how decisions are made, how we handle conflicts. Like I said before, what's the power dynamic in our home? How do we balance hierarchy if there is, and all of that kind of thing. If there's a major issue, how do we repair? What's our way of managing those kind of those kind of things? And then there's spiritual alignment. What's our source in terms of alignment? What do we defer to in terms of authority? Right? We must see eye to eye on those basic things. Because what happens is once there's distortion in those areas, we cannot claim to be going in the same direction. And the idea for me is if we don't see the same way
Yeah.
on those matters, then we can't claim that we're going the same way, especially because the way we see is the way we act. So I'm acting based on the way I see on the matter. And if I'm not going in the direction that you are going, we cannot in any way agree that we compromise to end up at the same destination. So once we're not moving in the same direction at the moment, we're not ending up at the same destination. Right? And so that's why it becomes critical to fundamentally agree on those basics. Right? Teleological, axiological, ethical, procedural, and spiritual. That you're agreeing on those basics that we must, on these areas or in these areas rather, see the same way. We must agree on what we intend to live by. In these different areas.
And I mean, I feel like there's a lot that you've unpacked there. There's a lot that you've said there, and there are a few questions that are sort of running through my mind as I've heard you speak. Because, you know, we laid the foundation at the start saying that alignment is not sameness, right? But then you're speaking to a lot of things, and it drills down back to values, right? And I'm hearing you say values over preferences. And I'm saying that, I'm highlighting that particularly for the people who are yet to make a decision as to who they're spending the rest of their life with. Like, your preferences can be negotiable. Your preferences you can shift ground on. But your values are the things that would shape you, are the things that inform how you do things. That's the lens through which you see life. That's the way through which you make your critical decisions. And if there's no agreement in terms of your value, it already sets the wrong footing for sort of disunity in the future. So I think not compromising when it comes to values, you can shift ground when it comes to preferences. It's so important, right, that we are able to sort of distill things down to as basic as that, to sort of realize and recognize that when I'm making those decisions, or when I'm making the decision about who I want to be spending the rest of my life with, my values are non-negotiable. My preferences, on the other hand, I can shift ground on preferences. So that way it helps the person, right? And then I think that we then need to now move to the next layer where you're then describing all of these things that we need to agree on in terms of, you know, the Bible says it clearly, can two walk together except they be agreed? When there's no agreement, there's no alignment. And so that's, and you know, I said something at the start of the conversation where I was mentioning the fact that you might not be in the same developmental or emotional state. But the key thing here is agreement. And the agreement would only happen when we have conversations, when we bring issues to the fore and we have conversations. And I think that's what a lot of couples are not doing a lot of. They're not having the needed conversations. We're not drilling back on the things that actually really matter. So in the terms of like, okay, parenting, what is our parenting vision? What kind of parents do we want to be? What kind of children do we want to raise in this family? What kind of home do we want to have? What's the atmosphere that we want other people that come into our home? What do we want them to feel when they come into our home? What does success mean to me? And what are the things that I'm willing to give to get to that destination? And what are the things that I cannot compromise on my journey to that place? That way, you both are having the conversations that matter. And once there's agreement on that, once there's agreement in that way, you can tell that both of you are pushing in the same direction. Even if somebody else still needs to do a bit of catching up in terms of either their speed or catching up in terms of whatever it is. But the fact that there's conversations, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like there's no unnecessary tension in that direction. So I feel like, you know, I thrive a lot in summaries. So a few things that we've said alignment is not sameness. We've said alignment is that you're intentionally or deliberately orienting your life towards the same vision, to the same values, towards the same direction. And alignment answers the question of shared direction. Are we heading in the same direction? Do we want the same things out of life? Do we want the same things out of this marriage? Do we want the same things for our children? Do we want the same things for our money? Right? And I think deep down in the alignment conversation is about meaning. A lot of this is about the meaning of things.
As you're speaking, I'm thinking essence. I'm thinking essence primarily because, I mean, at the end of the day, if I don't understand the meaning of a thing, abuse is inevitable, isn't it? So it's about the same thing. Like, I don't understand meaning essentially. There's no essence for this thing. And as you're speaking, I'm also thinking I think it's when you're saying we want the same things out of life, that you find that there are relationships that break down because one person feels we don't seem to want the same thing anymore. Right? And it doesn't just happen instantly. There must have been chips or things detailing that we seem to be going in different directions.
Yeah.
Right? The central nervous system is already even built in a way that you are aware when there's a shift in your environment. Right? You would move very quickly from your parasympathetic nervous system, which allows you to feel the connection and the rest. And you know the way when you say, oh, what do you feel about your marriage? And somebody just says, oh, I just feel home. I just feel peace. You know, your parasympathetic nervous system is affected when you don't have alignment, because what you start to feel is the opposite of rest and peace and connection. You start to feel unrest. You start to feel on the edge. Your amygdala now becomes more heightened in its work. You're getting home and you're agitated. You're getting home and you're feeling defensive already. You don't know where you're going to meet when you get in, and all of those kind of things. So your nervous system is already even created in such a way that it can suggest to you that things are going wrong.
Yeah.
Now, the way we're created, when we've bonded over a period of time, and it doesn't even have to take so long, what happens is that you have more secretion of oxytocin, for example.
The feel good
The
hormone.
feel good hormone. The idea that we're in love, we're bonded. You get, like, we have that. You have dopamine as well, because you're feeling, every time you're coming home, there's this sense of motivation, satisfaction, and just the sense of reward that you get, like I'm getting home, like I'm getting to the one thing I cherish the most.
Yeah.
You know, spending my time with the one person I cherish the most. You know, all these things are dysregulated or affected if you are out of alignment. The same way you will feel when there's a threat is the way your amygdala starts to react.
And there's
Like there's a threat.
And there's misalignment.
Because it acts in the same way. So when there's misalignment, it begins to act like there's a threat. So you know. You actually know when things are not okay. You will feel the destabilized state of being in yourself when things are not okay. Now, those things begin and start to suggest to you that something is wrong. What should happen then is that people should begin to talk, begin to review these critical areas that we've mentioned in the beginning and say, look, do we still want the same thing out of life? Are we still heading in the same direction? What are we doing about this? What are we saying about that? And if you've noticed things that you've had conflict around, realize that the conflict is just the fruit of the misalignment beneath the surface. So what you want to be addressing is the misalignment beneath the surface. So in this area, what values have we begun to consider as preferences rather than non-negotiable? And so if you come back to that and begin to address the things that are fundamentally shifted, you find yourself coming back to alignment, and you see that the way that you feel changes. You feel more at home when you're home. As against the other way around.
And you know, the few things that you were saying just sort of resonates with what I was saying earlier, that conflicts, oftentimes we just take what is at the surface in terms of the decision without addressing the meaning behind the situation, the meaning behind that decision. Because people don't just act. There's a meaning that they have ascribed to a particular thing is why they have decided to act in a certain way.
Right.
So I feel like one key thing that would help couples to stay in alignment is engaging curiosity. I feel like curiosity would help you stay in alignment.
Absolutely.
Because when you see either a behavior, a pattern that is not in line with the things that you both have agreed on, or you see new patterns or you see new behaviors, then with curiosity you then start to ask the question, okay, I've noticed this. What's going on here? And with that, if you engage that process to the end, you both will then come to the table of conversations, so that having conversations about things that matter and not letting those issues fester to the point where they will then cause disunity. Because you know, sometimes when we hear stories, it's almost as though they just woke up and then they suddenly oh, we're just not the right fit. We just don't want the same things out of life anymore. But like you said, it was a gradual build-up. A gradual build-up that could have been nipped in the bud if we had the right conversation.
And it's key, like you say, right conversation. Because most times people will take on things like mastering communication skills. Or trying to handle conflict. The idea is the right conversations need to be had, because we can master all we want. And back to me talking about it neurologically, misalignment already makes your partner someone that stresses you neurologically. right? So if you start having if you start mastering communication without addressing the right situations or speaking to the right things or having the right conversations, you're just going to master communications, but the person is still a stressor.
A stressor that you then want to get away from.
Yeah, because I mean, people respond in different ways to stress, right? Some will shut down, some would,
withdraw.
find succor in something or someone or what have you, and you won't realize where it's coming from, right? Like, so the idea is you want to have I just wanted to highlight what you said.
Yeah.
You want to have the right conversation. You want to be able to address the fact that I feel this sort of imbalance internally, and I probably might not be able to tell what it is suggesting. Or sometimes you can. And if you say so and so and so thought creates this kind of imbalance internally for me, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
And you assess where you are in terms of agreement there. Because what is happening is not the communication that brings you back to alignment, it's the agreement.
Say that again, please.
I said it's not the communication that brings you back to alignment, it's the agreement. It's the fact that after we have spoken, there's an agreement.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And I think one thing that sort of stands out to me is also the fact that alignments cannot happen without emotional safety. Because we're saying that people need to be having the right conversations, but then the environment needs to be one that allows or permits safe conversations to happen, such that you're able to be yourself without the fear of judgment, to air your thoughts without the fear of judgment, and just generally feel safe around the other person. Because if there's no emotional safety, vulnerability goes out of the room.
Right.
Vulnerability goes out of the room.
Right.
And I think it's key that in having these alignment conversations, because some of these things will be touchy issues. I mean, I'm just picturing a couple where when you married me, I was tongue speaking, demon yanking. And then maybe things have happened, life has happened, and I'm starting to question some parts of my faith, for example. And I want to come up to you and say, I'm worried about this, and this, and this. Does God really heal? Like, see what has happened to us. We've had unanswered prayers. Like, it's tugging at my heart, and it's making me question certain things about our faith. The behavior that one might see on the surface is maybe a withdrawal from spiritual activity. And one person's like, when I married you, you were tongue speaking, demon yanking, you were very involved in church. But all of a sudden, you're the one person that doesn't want to then have anything to do with church. So I'm saying that some of these things would actually be touchy subjects, would be touchy areas. It might even be things down to things like your plan for the future, in terms of like, oh, these are my current goals. These are the current things that I'm having. These are the current things that I want to achieve. And I want to be able to share that with you without you feeling maybe, oh, you always have your head in the clouds. You're not being realistic with your dreams. I mean, we will drill things down to the point of, okay, agreeing on the next steps, agreeing on what is right, what is best fit for our family at this point in time, what's the best direction that we should go in together as a family, which then sort of gives credence to what you say about agreement being the heart of this alignment conversation. Agreement is key. But then the person needs to be able to come and tell you that these are my dreams, these are my ideas, these are the things that I'm hoping to pursue, without feeling like they will be criticized, without feeling that they will be shut down, without feeling that they won't have the room or the opportunity to fully express themselves. So I feel like emotional safety is key in this alignment conversation.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're saying that, and I'm thinking about how it fits into even what we might be judging wrongly when it comes to the way we see ourselves in attachment.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you see partners that are properly attached, secure attachment, you'll find that because there's a high level of predictability and a high level of shared meaning, there's safety.
Yeah.
What you're referring to.
Yeah.
And you might see relationships where there isn't safety, like you said, but what is put down to is that our attachment style is different. But it might not necessarily be that your attachment style is different, like it would be that you are misaligned. So, for example, if by a secure attachment there's predictability in our marriage, we know what each other will stand for. If something goes wrong in terms of a choice you make or a decision you take, I question it because I'm supposed to know you to a degree and know what you will stand for. Now, what allows for security in attachment is that there's predictability and there's shared meaning. There's an idea that we both understand and we've been able to create a rhythm around it, in which case there's an agreement of how we flow, which then gives us the peace and balance we need to move further in our relationship. It's the same thing with alignment because it creates the same idea. So with alignment, it's shared meaning.
Yeah.
With alignment, it's shared direction. Meaning regardless of temperament, regardless of personality type, regardless of preference, as long as there's an agreement, we have created predictability. So I understand what you will do and not do because of what we've agreed. Right? And so what will happen is that even with the frailties that you might consider in attachment, say for example, an anxious partner present in the relationship, as far as we have done the work of creating shared meaning, creating agreements, creating shared direction, at a level we are working ourselves into a rhythm that begins to create a person or a type of person, meaning who we're becoming is in alignment with the alignment.
That sounds who we're becoming is in alignment with the alignment
we have agreed on. Now, the idea is, what will then happen with for example, when this is missing now, you find the need for self-preservation. Because now, if predictability was something that I understood, or valued, or saw that we could bank on, and it's lacking, at a level, someone with, for example, an anxious attachment style might want to start to preserve themselves at a level. Someone with an avoidant attachment style might want to start to help their autonomy, the fact that they can ensure that they are doing their own things themselves. So like they're forced to be that thing that they probably can be healing from if a secure environment is created. Now this, I probably have just blown this out of the water, but if you see what I mean, like, so there are things that even who we are can be managed and groomed into something better when we have alignment.
And you know, that you were speaking, actually, the other thing that was coming to my mind was about there's this common, one shall chase 1,000 and two will chase 10,000.
Right.
That only happens in the...
Oh, absolutely.
Only happens when there's alignment.
Oh, absolutely.
Only happens when there's shared meaning. Only happens when there's shared direction.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, so if that is something that you are concerned about your home, like we've seen this personally, that when we agree and align on a thing, like, we want to do this project.
And I'm very sure many couples have seen the same.
Do you get? We want to do this project. We want to go headlong in this. The moment we get into alignment, we become unstoppable. We become unstoppable. But the moments where one person is maybe still not on board, one person still doesn't really understand the direction, doesn't really understand the vision.
It collapses.
We're not moving. And the other person starts to feel a sense of frustration or like drawback. And I feel like that's why it's important that those conversations, it's dynamic. Alignment is not a static once and for all. Like, so when we were choosing ourselves, we made that decision, we had that conversation, and I can say for a fact that we align. But I think it's an ongoing thing rather than it being just a static one-off thing. It's an ongoing journey. It's a dynamic journey. Ensuring that directional coherence, going back to the phrase that you used earlier, ensuring that directional coherence is not a once done and dusted thing. It's an ongoing thing. We need to keep rehashing it. We need to keep having the necessary conversations to ensure that we are seeing the same vision, we are seeing the same goals, we're headed in the same direction, and we're going for it. And we're deploying, and I think where the conversation about it not being sameness then comes in is that in the going for it, you will bring your unique giftings and your own unique abilities to the table. I will bring my own unique giftings and ability to the table, but then we will complement each other and achieve that thing that we want to achieve. It's not that we're going to then become the same, or the contributions that I will make to that will be the same. So maybe, for example, like I would use parenting as an example. If you have a vision of what you want your children to be like and what you want them to be like, and that's running in your head. So maybe somebody in your family is the structure queen. So the person can be the person that creates their routines around that shared vision, right? And maybe the other person is more
structure queen, or structure king. Or why not just structure person so it's neutral? And we can decide who takes it. Because what you've done, we can argue that what you've done has just assumed that women are the ones with better structure.
Sorry.
I'm not all the time.
I'm not tilting towards in our family. You can be the structure king.
That's not all the time. Well, go ahead.
So I feel like it's important that we then realize that we then complement each other on this journey towards achieving that one goal, that shared goal. Do you see? Yeah. And I think this is where the growth conversation also comes in terms of the fact that we're not necessarily been growing at the same pace, but the fact that we have that shared vision and the shared direction of where our life is headed, we're unlikely to outgrow division if we keep on coming back to having the conversations.
Yeah, because we retain the alignment.
And then it would also challenge you. I mean, I'm just thinking about it on the spot. Like, if I know that these are my KPIs, or if I know that this is what I want to represent or I want to stand for, it would highlight my growth areas to me and tell me the areas where I need to grow in. And I think that in itself will also reduce the likelihood of anybody feeling like I'm outgrowing the other person.
Yeah. And, with that outgrowing the other person, I'm reminded of a Gottman research that said, you'd find that failure in marriage is not often, a function of the factors we consider responsible for failure in marriage is conflict, for example, and say, the frequency of conflict determines that we will go apart, or sexual dissatisfaction determines that we'll go apart, or financial stress determines that we'll go apart. Now, these factors have not been diminished as non-issues. They are issues, but their research showed that misalignment is a more dangerous, factor, where there's a loss of shared meaning, where there's a loss of agreement on where we're going. We've begun to drift apart in terms of direction. There's misalignment on priorities of life. So, for example, God is important to me, and all of a sudden becomes unimportant to you. Right? Prayer is important to me, all of a sudden it becomes unimportant to you. Parenting our children in a certain way is important to me, all of a sudden becomes unimportant to you. And I know that there are places where people don't agree and may not realize that it might begin to chip in the block. Say, for example, someone is saying, I want Jen to be parenting, the other one is saying the other thing. And they are not agreed. And life keeps going on, and things keep happening, and each person is evolving in the thing they have chosen. And they find out that they are slowly drifting apart. That is a more critical way that marriages fall apart. Little wonder you just find people ending up, and I think I said this earlier, saying things like, we just don't want the same thing. No explanation. It might seem like a weak, statement or weak excuse to make, but deep down, beneath the surface, they don't see or feel anything any longer. Why? It feels like a waste of time. So you find out that all these other factors can be worked on if we know we are going in the same direction. Except you are with someone that doesn't have any direction they are going.
There's that too.
In which case, there's no picture ahead of them for what the meaning of this thing is. Then they can just be coasting along with somebody that has no direction themselves, because they also don't have any. But someone that has an understanding of what life should mean, what the value of living is, what contribution means, what the essence of union or marriage is, there will be problems if there is no alignment. And I know that there are people in marriages and they are coasting. They've never at any point in their life sat down to plan where they are going. So they can get married to somebody that also has no plan for where they are going, and then they coast together. There will be no problems until maybe one day somebody wakes up. However, for people that have always been, and I'm saying this especially because you might find that there'll be higher conflicts with people that are high achievers. Before you met your spouse, you knew where you were going with your life. And then you meet your spouse and it seems like where you're going begins to dwindle, because now you have to make sacrifices or compromises and you become unhappy. Now it shows that there was no agreement as to how what you are both doing aligns. Do you see what I mean? So a lot of people struggle with the things that they should have agreed from the outset. And you'll find that a woman, for example, that is a high flyer, begins to feel blindsided after they get married. Like, you didn't tell me I was going to have to drop my hours. You didn't tell me I was going to have to stop working. You didn't tell me I was going to have to lose a year or two to pregnancy. You didn't tell me, like, there are many factors that, because we didn't agree how we're going to navigate as we moved, and because we're not reviewing as we journeyed, we find out that we become uninterested in the thing that made us really excited and happy when it started. So marriages break down more because now there's misalignment than they will because of all those other things. Those other things actually become exciting because there's alignment. Or they become uninteresting because there's no alignment.
And I think it's so key because I feel like there's so much that one can unpack around this alignment conversation. And the question that's also going through my head is the fact that for the people who currently are not aligned,
right,
what is the way back? Or people who are currently find themselves in they've listened through this episode and they're like, oh wow, there's I resonate with this. I feel a lot of tension. Coming home doesn't feel like coming home. Like, I just feel like we don't see eye to eye anymore. And is there any sort of fallback from that in terms of how can we start to retrace our steps back to that point of alignment?
So you see, that thing about having a vision, I feel is a major part or a central part, because if we know where we're going, then we can begin to plot the routes to the place, right? If we don't know where we're going, then of course we can't plot any route. It means that we're probably gambling and winging as we move along. So I feel that's maybe a critical place to start. What's the meaning of this union to start with? What are we headed toward? What are we trying to establish? What are we trying to create? So I feel like it's to come back to those 5 things I listed earlier, right? And establish what matters in life to us right now. What's the meaning of this union that we're in? What are the things we want to establish as non-negotiables for this union? What are the things we want to establish as things we must agree upon? What's the way that we are going to begin to deal with issues one with the other? How are we going to run and manage the things or the affairs that we have to do together? And where do we lean on, or who do we lean on for a spiritual authority? Now, I would rather say divine authority. You see what I mean? But who do we lean on as source for where we draw spiritual counsel, or where we draw the direction for our life in general? So it's like we've established our vision around these different areas by agreeing to things that we want to live by. Now, in a quote and unquote, what you might call, I was going to use the word disintegrating, but that seems terrible. but if you are finding that we've begun to drift apart, it's more like you're saying something is going wrong, and now we need to rescue. In that rescue, it's as if we are resetting foundation. Now, you can't reset foundation without coming to foundation. So, meaning you will have to come back to the thing you didn't do in the first place and re-establish and start and review as you go and improve and begin to agree on the ones that have, or begin to confirm the ones that you have agreed on. And for everyone you've not agreed on, continue the process until you then have what you might consider a rule book or a standard standard operating procedures. Because whether we like it or not, having shared values is like the operating system of a marriage. It's like we know how we behave.
Clock it.
I love that part. It's like we know how we behave. You see, like, so we will come back to it again and again and establish until we realize we have formed something. Now, for some people, you might need external guidance for it. For some people, you can just pray and the Holy Spirit will guide you and help you and everything will be fine. But some people, you might need external guidance. You might need a professional to guide you through these things, because when you're having this kind of conversation, especially when you don't see eye to eye, some people don't even know how to have conversations that affect the way they see. So the moment your partner or your spouse has mentioned something you don't agree with, you can't sit in that conversation. In those kind of cases, it might be worth having a professional sitting with you or chatting through that course with you, so that those frailties or those triggers do not play up and disrupt the process, such that what could have potentially been repaired now seems irreparable because of the way you see. Right? So I feel, those fundamentals are critical to go back to, but you can either do it alone, prayerfully help yourselves through the process and be sure that you're actually doing the process, or get a professional to sit with and help yourselves through the process.
Because I hear you as you say that, because obviously sometimes people hold on to their picture, their perspective so tightly that they feel like it should not be questioned, or no questions asked. In this kind of conversation, you can't have no questions asked, because it's about our shared meaning, it's about our shared vision, it's about the direction in which we're going. So questions will be asked.
Of course.
And they need to be asked in a non-judgmental manner. They need to be asked in a way that facilitates the conversation. But I think that that's the heart of the matter. And I think if you're listening to this and you're wondering, I really love some support, we've created a resource that you can use, like couples can use, to sort of to guide you through these conversations in terms of alignment. And you can just click the link in our bio and you would get access to that resource. And we're hoping that as you use that, it would just guide you. It's not supposed to be one size fits all, but it covers most of the areas, and it would help guide you to facilitate those necessary conversations. And I think it's just important for me to just reiterate at this point that aligned couples, it's not like they don't have conflicts. But then the key thing is that when push comes to shove, when we dig deeper, they are grounded because they have shared meaning, they have shared vision, they have a shared understanding of their life together, and they have a shared understanding of the direction in which their life is headed. And that in itself is a core pillar for any home. That in itself is the guardrail, the safeguard that we need against division.
I think just speaking about that review, it also establishes, and I'm guessing we probably have said it earlier, that alignment is not static, it is dynamic. And so even couples that are thriving in their marriage, and I feel like to even thrive, it means that you've considered alignment as a living contract, meaning we're renewing it, right? Not like a signed document, like it's done and dusted. So it's a dynamic thing. It changes along the lines of several things. If I switch career, for example, I expect to be different. I expect to be different at some point in the journey. And so what you might have known based on the career path that I'm taking at the moment might be different from what you knew based on the career path that I was taking previously, which would mean that a few things might need to be revisited that we probably did not know about until the time. Parenting too as well can shift the way that we agree on things. And so you will find out that things that I found easily acceptable, or things that I could sit with, I find myself refusing to agree, or what have you, which can then create, a disagreement between us, and we have to then, speak about it. So there are many life factors that along the way will shift the way we agree, or shift the things we have agreed to, or shift the way we're aligned, meaning we must continue to review. So even after saying, we've done this, we've taken this document, we've reviewed things, and we see that we're perfectly aligned, review again much later, right? You can make it a yearly process. You can make it
which is why we're having this conversation process. Now.
But just make sure that that's something that you put into the works to make sure that you're continually reviewing, that you are agreed on the different things that are crucial to the meaning of your marriage.
Yeah. I think it's been such a solid conversation, if I can say so myself, because I feel like we can all agree that alignment is a core pillar for any home that works, for any marriage that works. And like I said earlier, alignment does not erase our differences. It just gives them shared direction. It just gives them shared direction. And I think if we keep that at the heart of it all, saying, you know what, they're not telling me to come and lose my personality. They're not telling me to erase myself in this union. It's that we are working towards the same things. We want the same things for this marriage. We want the same goals. We want the same things for this marriage. And we're willing to do what it takes to achieve that. So we're running towards the same thing. We're running towards the same vision. We're running towards the same direction. And I think that's the heart of it, because we can come at this as saying, oh, have you set a vision? Have you done vision boards for the year? Have you done this? Have you done that? The heart of all of these vision board conversations is also alignments, because you can put pictures of individualistic things. Everybody comes and draws their own. I want to go to this one. I want to do this one. I want to, without any shared thing in terms of what are we going to do together as a couple, and how are we going to harmonize or complement our strengths. I'm not saying that you can't have individual pursuits. You can and you should have some individual pursuits, but then obviously it would always line up with the grand big picture for your union and the direction in which your union is headed overall. So I think that's it for me, really. Remembering that alignment is asking the question, are we heading towards the same direction?
Yeah. I feel it's worth being aware not to be fooled by chemistry, because many people at the start, and this one is particularly for people that are yet to decide on the person that they will spend the rest of their life with. When you say, oh, we actually gel, we vibe, and you feel like the chemistry that creates connection is what will sustain the relationship in the long run. And so chemistry can establish connection, but alignment sustains it. When we connect, we're going to end up in the same room. After we've connected, are we going to be able to stay in the same room together, or are we going to be staying apart? Because the typical example or reality of that is when people are in the same house, but it no longer feels like home. And so you find each person living as a unit, but divergent. Right? And it does happen. It's the reality of many marriages that people, unfortunately, no longer seem to understand why they made the choice they made. And it's just because things have become misaligned. Things have become misaligned.
I think that's a sad reality, but also a wake-up call to people who haven't made the decision. Like I said earlier, values are non-negotiable. Preferences are negotiable, but don't make your preferences your values, and don't make your values your preferences. Realize the difference. Realize the difference. Make the distinction in your mind. Realize the difference, and let that guide you in making your choice. Like we said, we've got that resource available that you can download to help you start your journey in having these necessary conversations. We're rooting for you. We hope you have a beautiful and an aligned year in your marriage. Right.
Starting from an aligned January.
Starting from an aligned January, and we hope that filters down to the rest of the year and gives you such a clear sense of direction, and it creates that peace that you speak of, that ease that you speak of, that sense of togetherness and meaning that might have been lacking can be reinfused into that union, into that marriage, into that relationship, just by going back to the drawing board and fine-tuning this bit on alignment.
Yeah, and you just find out that your two begin to work together perfectly because you agreed. Because you agreed.
Because you are agreed, not because you are the same.
Exactly.
Because you are agreed, not because you are the same. Remember, marriages work, and the marriages that work are worked at. We're rooting for you.